Jeremy, thank you for being on the Filmmakers podcast, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. It's awesome.
And thank you for submitting your film as well. It was it starts off as one thing in terms of tone, and then it really kind of shifts a gear, which I really like. So how did you when did you kind of start thinking about this idea? Is it something you've had for a while, or was it kind of something relatively new?
It was pretty new. I actually was applying around for film schools, and one of the prompts I had to make a short film, and the requirements were pretty limited because of COVID. I had to use only people in my household, and so I ended up just winging it and doing everything myself. It's the first time I've ever done 100% everything myself. So, and the idea kind of honestly was spurred from Martin Scorsese's short, The Big Shave.
Yes,
I think it was 1964 is when it came out. That was really obviously a huge homage or big inspiration for the film. And also weirdly enough, the song, the Sweater Song by Weezer, that was another play into it. But yeah, I think it was relatively new. I thought about it, I think back in December, and didn't start filming it until around late January.
So how did you have a monitor on your camera to work out your camera positions, or?
Yeah, I definitely had an external 7-inch. I don't think it would have been possible without it.
No, absolutely. I really enjoyed your film, and it's really nice to because last year we with the filmmakers I interviewed and the films I saw, I kind of got a picture of who they were, and it was really nice to kind of build up our little small community. It's building up every year. We're in our second year now, and when we received your film, I thought, "Oh yeah, sounds great. I love the title card. I love the kind of aspect ratio you were going for. It's like, was it 133:1 or 4:3, or whatever?
Yeah, it was. I think it was 137 or 133, so somewhere around there. Yeah,
Yeah,
the old school Academy format.
and it kind of made sense with the mirror and the framing and the subject matter. It really kind of lent itself, your location and how you shot it. I'll be going back and forth in terms of production and your film history and that. How did you kind of put that jumper together? Do you have separate pieces? How did that work?
So there was 3 of the sweaters I used. I bought 3 of the same ones. One of them I never cut. I kept full size. One of them, I think I only cut around certain portions of it, and then one of them got cut up into 3 or 4 pieces. So
yeah,
yeah.
What was really nice about that was how it was like a clean drop.
Yeah,
There's something really I can't quite put my finger on why I like that, but it was it was almost like clothes dropping off. Like when you actually drop clothes off, it's just like that.
yeah.
And I kind of there was something I kind of liked about that. And was it always was it a conscious choice to go with red in terms of the jumper?
I kept going back and forth between red and navy blue, but with the white in the bathroom, and I tried to make it mostly white around me. I think the red really jumped and really played into the blood when I was going into that. So I think they really played together well. So yeah, I had bought 3 blue sweatshirts and 3 reds, and ended up going with the red in the end. I think it popped more in the bathroom.
Yeah. I'm just trying to picture that now as a blue. We'll throw up a screenshot of the film when we talk about this. And yeah, I think definitely blue. Yeah, it absolutely works. The blue wouldn't have worked, and the red absolutely works, and it makes a lot of sense, especially with what happens in the final few shots.
Well, I actually initially I was thinking of shooting in black and white because I've never done any special effects makeup, and I didn't want that to undersell. I thought black and white would kind of hide the blending more, and once I shot it, I thought the red was a nice effect, and I kind of had to run with it, even though I wasn't 100% happy with the special effects.
Was that something that you produced yourself?
Yeah, and regrettably, I should have done it on my left arm because I did everything on my right arm, and I'm right-handed, and it was like, honestly, it was awful. It was a mess. It took me hours, and it was not even that good. It's just like hours to do.
Was that something you already applied, and then you realized once you've applied, oh, that actually doesn't work on that arm?
Well, I I had shot all the previous stuff before the special effects, so like the sweater stuff and unraveling and how it fell, and it ends up being on my right arm with a thread. And I was like, for continuity, I have to go with it. It's too late. Like,
Yeah, you
so
don't want to buy another sweater, do you? No.
yeah.
So yeah, so when was that? When was the film finished originally?
I think the first week of February of this year.
And that
So
was a requirement for. Was that a brief you were given?
yeah, it was one of the prompts for the portfolio I had to submit.
Yeah, I is horror something you kind of I don't want to say that's a spoiler, but is horror something you appreciate, or kind of those kind of tropes, those elements? Is that something you kind of
Yeah.
enjoy?
I mean, I'm not genre specific. I absolutely love all film, but I think darker material, horror. I like dark crime noirs. Like Seven's probably my all-time favorite film. So
Yeah,
just anything that's gritty and kind of emotional, I'm into. So
yeah. It's Seven when you watch it now with who's in the cast. It's even more creepy.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I try to look past that in the art
Yeah,
and try to
well, that I
myself, but
completely agree with you on that, because I love LA Confidential. It's one of my favorite films, and
yeah,
the complexity of it. The script is so good, and the direction. Curtis Hanson's a genius, and the
oh yeah,
cast, the performances were brilliant, and it's one of those films that I kind of forget how it all works because it is so complex, and it's like, and then there's moments that oh yeah, I remember everything at the end, and then it all kind of falls away.
oh
And
yeah,
yeah, like you say, you can't let what's happened in the recent past that's to affect the overall enjoyment of something that's you hold so dear. And Seven's a work of art, especially with
definitely.
the rain, the direction, the writing, the sheer darkness of the whole
Oh yeah.
subject matter, especially
I
when
just love the ambiguity too of the town. Like you don't really know where they are.
yeah,
Just the dark contrast to going into the fields in the end. Like I don't know. There's just so much that hits in that movie that's just phenomenal. And Kevin
absolutely, yeah.
Spacey, I mean, not not that I want to like support him or anything,
Hmm.
but he was definitely one of my bigger inspirations when I was younger. I loved American Beauty. I thought he was a
Yeah,
phenomenal, probably one of the greatest actors of his time. But
yeah, the
it's just a
performances.
shame.
It is. It absolutely is. That's. It's like some of the cinema. I used to watch a lot of filmmakers like is it Jules Dassin. That there's an Italian crime film called Rafifi, and he was blacklisted as a communist. But
Yeah.
his films are amazing. He's a super director. It's a similar thing with Roman Polanski.
Oh,
I
I love Polanski.
like Chinatown is a
Hmm.
work of art, and
Rosemary's Baby is just
oh yeah, I was
is one of
watching
the
that the
most
other night. Yeah,
that scene is just so it's one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in my life with purely
yeah,
practical effects. Like you know
yeah.
which one I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, we'll kind of leave that to one side. But you can't. The art stands alone on itself. It really
Definitely.
does. And no matter what people have done or haven't done or accused of, I think that there's so much enjoyment. Rosemary's Baby's so grim, so
Totally.
grim. And what I love about that film is it's got Wilmer from The Maltese Falcon, and Maltese Falcon's one of my favorite films. And
Yeah.
seeing him as this older guy that's like, and they're the only two films I've seen him in. I think he's in like Passage to Marseille, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the kind of older balding guy that's in
Yeah.
the apartment. And yeah, he's brilliant character, and superb movie. So kind of how did you get into filmmaking initially? Was it something you shared with family, or kind of was it a passion for
Um,
cinema first?
well, I grew up in musical theater with my family. I did a lot of like crew work and lighting and stuff when I was really young, kind of getting into it, and some stuff on stage. But that kind of always pushed performing arts as like something I enjoyed. And then through high school, I dabbled around in editing and editing on tapes, like just random bike videos and stuff with friends, and
Yeah.
nothing really film or narrative oriented. And it really wasn't until like my senior year of high school I started writing, and I thought I was definitely going to be a writer. I fell in love with writing scripts, and I met my friend Steven at my first job in just a grocery store, and he's super passionate about film and wanted to be a director, and he's honestly the one that kind of pushed me to be like, well, you're right, you might as well go into directing. And I'd say ever since around 2010 or 11, since we met, I've just been trying to push myself to direct. This is actually my directorial debut, is The Thread, but I've produced and done DP work on many a handful of shorts and other stuff, music videos and stuff.
So kind of the theater work, was that, did the lighting techniques and what you learned there, was that easily translatable to film, or was it kind of a different type of lighting?
So it's a lot different, I would say, for sure, but especially being young, and musical theater, it's really like kind of one dimension. They don't do a lot of creative lighting or anything creative, not all of them, I would say, but what I was doing. The one thing I think it did kind of inspire me, or really stuck with me forever, is just using color and gels. And I know that's becoming bigger and more popular in the modern times, but I've just always been obsessed, like, with Suspiria. The original Suspiria is like massive influence for me, and Neon Demon or any of Refn's work. I really love lots of contrast and color, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Neon Demon in terms of the actual film, but it's such a beautiful film.
It's beautiful. Yeah. The story is not his best, but the cinematography, I mean, Natasha Breyer is just
it's
amazing.
stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And it's obviously it's great to see Roger Deakins and legends like that. And but it's really nice to see new cinematographers kind of really kind of reaching for the stars kind of thing. And it's and just seeing some really kind of new techniques, refreshing things, and and Neon Demons that's the same director as Driver or Driven, isn't it?
Yeah, Drive. Yeah, and Drive, he did Only God Forgives. I think he did Bronson too, and a couple others.
Yeah, I love I thought what's the actor called in Drive? I think he's
Ryan Gosling.
He has smashed it in every way now. Comedy, acting, and in Drive. I bought the soundtrack straight away. Like some films can really hit with me, and it's not about liking a particular songs. It's like the journey it's taken and it brilliantly used throughout the film. And that Drive it's shot so well. It makes me want to go out in the car. It's one of those films like when you see someone or like an activity in a film and you just want to go and do that. That's what Drive gave me. And that was the kind of car mount stuff. And the closest thing that I like particular genre things where it comes to a situation like Carpenter and being in a single location or a single vehicle or phone booth or something like that. And there's a great film with Frank Grillo on Netflix called Wheelman, and the whole thing's in the car. The entire movie's in the car, and Grillo sells it. It's just a brilliant whole narrative. It's fantastic.
I think the other one's Locke. I think Tom Hardy's in the one that's really similar. It's all in one car and mostly on the phone.
Yeah, and he makes talking about concrete fascinating. Right. I think it's Stephen S. Knight I think he was one of the writers on Peaky Blinders, and he did
that show's great.
Taboo as well. I think it was Taboo, Tom Hardy's other show. And it's great. What you can achieve in a single location, like any of those feature films or your short. It's people think it's easy to do something in a single location, but I'd say it's super, super hard. And, through interesting shots and a really interesting story, like finding a thread, like when we all find a thread, it's almost like a common theme, like a common thing that everyone kind of finds. And like, you always just want to go, I'm going to pull that, see what happens. And then your film goes down the kind of Dream Warriors, Freddy Krueger route, which really appeals to me,
Yeah, definitely. I actually almost wore my my Nightmare on Elm Street shirt.
Yeah, and when I found out when I was older that it was green and red, not black and red, I was like, that blew my mind, you know. So yeah, it was your kind of your color palette on the film, and what you did with the grade, even if you didn't do too much with it, or what you did with it, had this kind of aesthetic to it that reminded me of Dream Warrior, and something about the sinister nature of being in the bathroom, and it's all clean, it's all white, like you were saying, and the red the red sweater, sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, it was. I know I keep going between US and UK, and yeah, but
one
yeah,
of my favorite things. I have a buddy from the UK, and one of the favorite things he ever said to me was, he asked if I'd seen his woolly jumper, and I had no idea what he meant, but it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, there was I saw an interview with I think it was Liam Hemsworth and Woody Harrelson, and they were talking about Five Guys, and the Five Guys is like a really nice, I think it's a Dutch burger chain, but it's really big in the UK now. And this female interviewer was talking about having a Five Guys, and it sounded all sorts of creepy, but it was just a UK thing, and she was talking about, and she explained it, and they were just laughing, you know. So I love picking up. I love picking up new things from all over, people from all over the world, which has been nice to be as part of this interview series. We kind of I learned new things every day from yourself and someone from Argentina the other day, and it's really fascinating how language is picked up. And when you hear something that's British that's picked up by someone in a completely different country, like Iceland, like the other day, it's like it's so random, and it's most of it's based on what they've watched on TV from the UK, which
Definitely.
is really nice to see.
Language is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's and like how people kind of create their own words, and language changes all the time.
Oh yeah.
But was there ever any original intent to have any other characters? Was it purely just going to be this one character on their own?
So with the requirements, it said I had to use only people within my own household, and at the time I was living with my ex and didn't want him on the camera. He's not an actor, so I just don't think it would have worked. And so I tried to ask for help on a couple of the camera shots. I had a couple more ideas of doing like zooms and a little more movement, but in the end, I just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it myself." You know,
keep it really efficient then, and there's something nice, and it's a completely different discipline. Like I've tried to shoot things on my own for this festival in terms of little promo things for last year, and it's there's pros and cons definitely to it. And you know, I was watching an interview with Mel Gibson years ago about how he was shooting battle scenes in Braveheart, and how he'd have to drive over on a what do you call it? Like a little buggy to go across the field just to go to Video Village, not Video Village, but kind of get references for the cameras and everything. So, because he was so obsessed with how it was being framed, you know, so. And
it should be.
Yeah, exactly. So is this the first kind of performance thing you've done, or have you been in shorts before?
I've done like 2-second roles and a couple things for friends, or you know, just little passion projects, but no, this was really the first thing I had acted in really and directed. And honestly, it, like you were saying, it's a totally different beast shooting stuff yourself. Like you'd think the one setting and what I did would be like a pretty simple one-day shoot, but with the special effects and the time it took to learn how to do the makeup and apply it, I shot this over 3 days, like 5 or 6 hours a day over 3 days. So I mean, it's simple, but there's just, you need a lot more patience when you're doing it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So did you use any kind of light panels or anything like that?
Actually, I just used unbleached muslin for the lights in the bathroom, and I think I did one little LED light behind me to kind of brighten it, but other than that, it was all practical and what was there.
That's the other thing when you're setting up lights and you're on your own. It's like going back and forth. Like I've got like half a mannequin somewhere, and I put it in the chair, and I wanted to kind of, I never want to be a YouTuber or anything like that, but it's I wanted my framing to be better and all of that, and lights and all that jazz. And it was like, I've got to sit in the chair and work out what my lighting is, And with trying to shoot anything on your own, lighting it's one of the most difficult things. Things like framing, you can, if you've got a reference monitor, you can kind of flick your eyes up at. It's relative, you can make it more straightforward, and I end up with way more takes. And then it's kind of nice to experiment, but did you kind of shoot any additional stuff? Did you kind of work out an assembly first and then think, right, I need some additional content?
No, I kind of just winged it and shot what was in my head. One thing I did kind of cheat around though is once I found the sweet spot for lighting, the camera just didn't move. I moved. So like all the close-ups and stuff, I just moved to align with what I wanted on camera, and I didn't really move lights or camera around at that point. So pretty much all the cutaways to any of the close-ups were me just moving.
Yeah.
So, and I did a couple movements of my body to try and add effects to look like the camera was moving. So
add a little bit of energy to it as well, like
definitely
kind of the kind of angle of your face from up here when the film kind of later develops. I could see what you were doing, and it does work. It really does work. And what's been nice, that I know you can kind of seek out your film online and see it through. Is it available online outside of any festivals?
Not right now, no.
That's good, because
for a minute, but I took it down.
Yeah, it's good because like even when I was thinking, I say we've got a couple of other people that I work with, but they help with the kind of live event, and I do everything else. But yeah, when I was putting the little film teasers together, I'm like, what do I show? I'm like, I'm not showing anything later because it just ruined it, and I'm not ruining anyone's film. But yeah, it was nice to just show the close up of the thread and just kind of tease people, and that's what's quite nice about it. And it's the music puts you in a different headspace as well. It matches the beginning, and then it really switches. I love it when a film switches up, and it's not a cheap switch. And I like how you go for movement towards the end as well. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that.
I actually, another homage towards Scorsese's short film is I tried to match the beats per minute of his song for my song, and I wanted that old timey sound to it too. And I guess the song kind of inspired me to do more like pantomiming or like silent film acting in the beginning, to kind of not go over the top, but a little more comedy, and then kind of, like you said, flip it and throw everyone off on that moment.
Yeah, it's great to kind of see react. I can't wait to see. I've not shown it to my missus or anything, but I kind of I get really excited about being able to show or showcase in with all the other films, like your film and the experimental films and films from all over. It's going to be really nice to see what the live comments are going to be like when people see the film. And it sits nicely in a, it doesn't, like you say, it's kind of not gender fluid, so genre fluid, in terms of doesn't know what it wants to be kind of thing. And I really love that. And I almost thought, I don't want to spoil it, but the markings on your lower body, are they part of what's going on with the mask, the kind of the face?
No, are you talking about my tattoos on my feet?
Yeah, but that gave me I went down a whole spiral, kind of thinking, right, okay, this is part of some sort of not ceremonial thing with the face and all of that.
It's just terrible garage tattoos when I was a young punk. I mean, I'm actually hoping to get them covered up in a month or two.
Yeah. Oh no, it worked. I thought it was part of the production. I thought it was like a henna tattoo or something. But it kind of worked. It really worked well, Jeremy. It was it's good fun. But no, I thought it was some sort of, like when, I thought it was part of a reveal kind of thing, and it made sense narratively with what I was thinking about.
I didn't leave it out for whatever people wanted to think. And
Yeah.
time wise, I was like, yeah, it is what it is. It's already in there. So
Yeah. But yeah, it's a moment in history now where those tattoos can't be forgotten now. So, but yeah,
yeah, I
it's
mean, it definitely wasn't subconsciously culty or
yeah.
anything in that realm. If anything, it was more of like I had been like kind of learning things about myself that when I was younger I thought were kind of like painful in my own sexuality and everything. And
Mhm.
I guess the effect of like pulling the thread and my face, I kind of enjoy it, is like kind of relative to me. Like finally finding enjoyment of things about stuff that I might have repressed or didn't like as a kid, and
Yeah.
were hard to swallow as a kid.
Yeah.
Just roughly in that
Absolutely.
realm.
It's really good to not have the strength, but to kind of pull on those parts of your history to kind of inform what you're producing short film wise or writing or music. It may
Definitely.
that's where the best stuff comes from, like some of the best shows, some of the best TV and movies comes from real lives. Some obviously are very sad in situations in people's past.
Yeah.
And I had COVID pneumonia in December.
Oh yeah.
It's like that's almost the way I start conversations now. It's ridiculous. But I got my results on the day I was supposed to be married. So we ended up canceling it and all of that. I was putting my suit on in the mirror when it happened. And everyone I
You
spoke to,
can't write that.
no,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
you
It
just
sounds like sounds like some rom-com thing, or
totally.
something. It sounds written. And everyone on the ward that I encountered in the intensive care ward and the people I could speak to, and in the regular ward, which I moved to, thankfully, they all had severe nightmares. And my severe nightmare was really dark, really, really dark, about Dignitas in Switzerland. It's like assisted
Oh, wow.
suicide place. And it was, when I woke up from that, I was like, what the hell is that? And then I started to ask people that I knew had COVID in different ways or more severe cases. Every single one of them had severe nightmares the week they had it. So it was like, I thought, right, that's going to
That
inform
sounds like
some
a
sort of
great
idea.
anthology.
Yeah.
Like just COVID nightmares.
COVID nightmares. That's it. We'll coin that. I'll borrow that off you, Jeremy. Yeah. But yeah, it's I had an idea for a dating film actually about a couple that meet and where they can meet, and I want to write that, and yeah, just to kind of, you got to get something out of this terrible situation and see green shoots, and that's one of the reasons we started this festival last year, and we're in our second year now, because we wanted to. Originally, myself and Chris, who founded the festival, we're going to send each other short films, and we're going to preoccupy ourselves with time-wise, apart from regular work life at home. We were going to send each other short films, and I kind of suggested, why don't we open up further to people online? And then it coincided with a Canadian film festival called the Isolation Short Film Festival, and then people were submitting to both, which was really nice. And we got some great judges last year. We've got some amazing judges this year as well. Like Akiko Sterenberger, who's a poster designer and
is
artist.
actually why I applied.
Yeah, she's amazing, like super talented, really nice to speak to.
I'm obsessed with her work. Yeah.
And it's so refreshing. Like, I really wanted to buy, there was a canvas print. I don't know what it was for. It was like a half someone being followed and half policeman. It was like a split painting. It was
Oh yes, for a short film. I can't remember the name, but I did see her post that
brilliant
one.
piece. I was like, I wish I had the money for that. That'd be a great piece of art to have.
Yeah, and, she's done works on some of my favorite recent films, like It Follows and Honey Boy. And
yeah,
I love her style. It's incredible.
The great thing is, it's super refreshing. You can and it's not just one style. It's not like Drew Struzan's a legend of poster design, but a Drew Struzan poster, which is great, and they are amazing, legendary. But I really like what she kind of brings to the table, her design aesthetic. Like, if you look at Bryce Dallas Howard's company logo, I think it's called Nine something. It's different faces of acting kind of thing, and it was like, it's completely different to anything else she's done, and it's fantastic. And I think it was a single man with the Coen Brothers film she did the poster for. It was just a pair of glasses.
A series, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I'm getting A Simple Plan and other things mixed up in my head.
No,
So
A Single Man though is definitely one of the films that was a huge inspiration for me. I mean,
yeah,
that Tom Ford, that was beautifully photographed. It was a
yeah,
great film.
I absolutely love his work, and yeah,
Yeah,
super talented. And yeah, and Garth de Bruno Austin, who's a cinematographer in South Africa, I just love his stuff. And when I approach both of them, I kind of approach a few people here and there, because you've got the judges aren't that on important in terms of the process, in terms of getting great films, but it's really nice to have a nice draw and interesting people to speak to. And for much younger filmmakers, when they see someone that has worked in the industry in a completely different way, like last year we had a cinematographer that worked with Guns N' Roses. He shot Sweet Child of Mine and loads of other stuff. He worked with Garth Brooks. He shot an underwater music video for Garth Brooks. Yeah. And yeah, I just remember Garth Brooks when he was singing for Joe Biden, the inauguration. That was crazy. But yeah, it's really nice to kind of mix things up. And one of the judges, or two of the judges, actually said, "Oh, can we do this year?" And I kind of wanted to freshen things up and have other people. And we've got Michael and Jessica Chan from Toronto, and they host a great podcast about food in Toronto called Talking with a Mouth's Full. Yeah. Michael's always eating and drinking on the show, not drinking alcohol all the time, but it's like you can hear him just munching something. It's like, Brad Pitt in Fight Club when Ed Norton calls him, he's eating cereal.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that in that podcast. So yeah. But yeah, worth checking that out. It's really fun.
Definitely. I need to.
Yeah, and when you discover a new podcast, it's great fun, isn't it?
Oh yeah. That's actually probably the biggest thing that happened to me during COVID is I finally got into listening to podcasts. I was totally late to the game. So that was one of the things that I haven't stopped listening to. I think I've stopped listening to music and I've just gone straight to podcasts.
I agree in many ways. I think that I only have music going when my phone just automatically picks up. Well, car automatically picks it up from my phone, and yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I remember buying that years ago. Or looking on it in Spotify. So what kind of podcasts are you listening to, or have you kind of started listening to?
So obviously, big one that got me into it was the Team Deacons podcast. I mean, they have a phenomenal dialogue with so many different people in the industry. It's great. It's really enjoyable. And let me see what else I got on here.
My favorite.
I kind of jumped around.
My favorite murder's a really good one. It's
my favorite murder.
Yeah, I think it's two. One female comedian and a female writer, and they talk about their favorite serial killers and murderers. It doesn't sound. It's not as grim as you think, but they've got this whole hometown murder thing as well, where people write in about something that you haven't heard about, and it's really, really fascinating. It became this massive thing, and they started doing gigs and like opening public forum to kind of more stories. And yeah, it's really, like you say, it's getting into podcasts is great. And when you find the kind of little gems, there's one I listen to, and it's kind of late night. It's kind of like old school radio theater when it's like sound design and horror sounds walking through the woods. And I think it's called Monsters Among Us, and it's a chap that hosts it, almost like a Tales from the Crypt, but it's audio messages that are left on Skype about things people have seen at night in the sky. But the way he kind of layers the audio in, and it's really kind of cool. And that's what I kind of want to get to with film. I kind of want to. I want to do a lot more Foley mixing because I want to learn the techniques, like when you see the design
that's
stuff.
What I know the least about. I mean, I love sound design and I listen for it. And I think it's just enriches every film by far, but I know nothing about it. That's why I had none in my film. It's just music. I'm like, I didn't want that extra layer for work.
Oh no, it's a whole new world for me. Like I know how to shoot something, but it's I think sound, and I've learned a lot more about lighting the last few years, and sounds the kind of that just elevates things. But I don't know who said it, but the moments without any sound can be just as amazing. You know, like when you watch what's the John Krasinski film, the Quiet Place? Is it
Oh
Quiet
yeah, yeah,
Place?
Quiet Place.
Like,
Yeah,
talk about Foley and lack of sound and tension. It's a work of genius.
definitely.
And
It,
when you see
I,
that it's celery, it's like twisted celery they
yeah,
use for the
watching the
those
back.
screeches and everything. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, silence definitely can be a sound essentially in film. I mean, it, yeah, and that film does a great job, especially when it ramps into the scene when they're playing the board game and knock
yeah,
over the lantern like that.
yeah,
That just kind of jumps right at you. It's all silent until the moment. Like, yeah, it's phenomenal. That was really well done.
yeah. That's something I've personally missed, going to the cinema
Hmm.
and really disappearing into a film. Like, you can do it at home to a certain degree.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's nothing like watching. I love horror especially, and uh,
definitely.
but I'm like you said at the beginning of the interview, or this recording, that I'm not just a favorite of one particular thing. I like classics, like horror. It's
Definitely.
all sorts really. Anything that's great or good story,
Hmm.
and story is obviously paramount. Um, but yeah, it kind of, what are you kind of looking towards making? Was that something that's uh, is short films always something you wanted to start with or to start making?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've worked on them, producing them, and DPing them for a while now with a couple people, mostly passion projects, and I think they're a really entertaining art form, especially with like TikTok and all that coming out. Like they're gonna start growing for sure. But my heart's in features. I mean, if I had a choice in the budget, I'd be doing features for sure. So, and I think I've roughly, I mean, I've written plenty scripts, but right now I'm solidifying two that I've been writing since about 2012, and a new one that I've just picked up during COVID. I've been starting to write, but it might be a while down the line. I don't have the budget for it myself, so.
Yeah, that's
But I
yeah.
am actually currently producing two feature films. One of them's like a no budget indie, kind of like Clerks meets Memories of Murder, more like a hometown murder, like you said in the podcast. But just that one I think shoots in 2 or 3 weeks. We're starting production,
Oh wow. Okay.
and then the other one we're still looking for funding, but it's an adaptation of a play, and the play did really well, so we're hoping that one will do strong. It'll be strong.
So are you going to be kind of so the feature that's starting in a couple of weeks, are you a writer or a producer or?
So I'm the DP and I'm producing. My good friend Steven, who I mentioned earlier, is the writer, director, producer, and mostly just friends. We got a couple people we got on backstage, but majority actors are friends we've worked with for years now. We brought in another producer who's also named Jeremy, so it gets a little confusing. But
Yeah. Yeah, I have to wear different jumpers or different sweaters. Yeah,
exactly.
so you know who's who. But yeah, that sounds like that's an interesting challenge. Especially, is it a relatively small crew?
Yeah, bare bones. I mean, there's probably on the crew itself, there's about 4 or 5 of us. So
Yeah,
it is mostly in one location, though. It all majority of it's at a video rental store. So
yeah. That as we say here, that's my cup of tea.
yeah,
That's the generation I'm from. Is going to what's in the UK is called Wise Time, and I don't know if it was a Northwest local thing, but
we had
yeah.
a Blockbuster and Hollywood Video were the two I grew up with.
Yeah, Hollywood Video. Yeah, I remember the adverts for that. But yeah, Blockbuster missed the trick with the online rentals, because that brand would have been cooking now.
Yeah,
Uh, as soon as they didn't make that switch years ago, you just saw the writing was on the wall straight
yeah,
away.
it's
Um,
sad, but man, I remember going to those weekly with my parents,
oh,
and
it was.
sometimes I'd rent the same movie over and over, and
Oh yeah.
just
What was your? I've got one in mind. What was your kind of? Have you got any films in mind that you rented repeatedly?
um. So when I was younger, I was super into anime, and like I've grown out of it. I still appreciate the stories are just like stuff that you'll never see in America. It's like no one will ever write those stories. So one of them was Princess Mononoke. It's a pretty dark and gory for a
Yeah.
cartoon, but I was able to get away with it because my parents just thought it was a cartoon. So
That's great. That's really great.
and I think honestly that film really pushed why I fell in love with Kill Bill, and that'd probably be another one I've rented multiple times. It was just the explosion of blood when any cut happens, and just like
Yeah.
the absurdity of it was just mind blowing to me.
Yeah. My go-to was it's a TV movie adaptation of Captain America
Okay.
and the Flash as well. And it was the Captain America's. It's so bad. The guy that plays Red Skull, I can't remember. Don't know any of the actors' names or the director. I ended up speaking to the writer and producer of the film, which was a real head trip because I remember
Oh yeah.
going to. I know exactly where the store is. I could drive there now, and it was on this little, like in the US, you've got obviously a lot of what would you call them, where you would like it's a car park where there's a bunch of shops in a little.
Oh, like a mall or
Yeah, but a super
okay.
small one where you've just got like really small stores around and it's open in the car
Yeah,
park in the middle.
like I don't know, like a shopping mall or outdoor mall. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
it's less common here. It really is less common.
Hmm.
And there's only like one or two in the kind of that I can think of that I've ever seen.
Oh,
Really,
they're
really
everywhere
not very common.
here.
But the one at the rental store I used to go to was super tiny. It was on one of those kind of outdoor malls, and yeah, I used to go right. I know where Captain America video is. I don't know why they kept it there for so many years. But yeah, it like I was speaking to a horror filmmaker last year, Ian Rayburn, super talented guy, and he submitted. He's working on a Hellraiser fan film at the moment, but
Okay.
his stuff's really excellent. And he was talking about how he got into horror looking at the covers, the artwork on the boxes.
Oh, I was just
Um,
gonna mention that, like, as a kid, I would go to the store and almost try and like will myself to like have the bravery to even look at one specifically. I remember was Dead Alive, the poster where she's like ripping her mouth
yeah,
open with the little skull. I remember being like terrified, but I had this weird draw, like I had to go look at it every time I went in in the video rental store.
yeah, yeah. I grew obsessed with. I think it was like there was like a whole obsession with squidgy boxes. It was like this whole thing. I don't know if it was like the end of the 80s but 90s,
Hmm.
and it was like a friend of my brother's elder brother who got me into cinema. My brother was a big influence on what I liked, and he used to have all the like Black Belt Jones and Bruce Lee and everything was in this kind of
Oh yeah.
larger rental box, and that was my obsession with collecting films. And
Oh yeah.
I got rid of a lot of my VHS tapes, and I kept all the sleeves though. I don't know why, but I kept all the sleeves, and it was hundreds. It was hundreds of VHS
Oh, I
covers.
believe it. My DVD collection is bigger than it should be with how much everything's on my computer now and iTunes. I mean, I still keep
Yeah,
them, but I got
you just don't want to get
close to
rid.
400 or 500 at least. I mean, I have my own little
Yeah,
Netflix. Like,
yeah, exactly. My thing, because my internet's gone down a few times here and there,
mhm,
and if I've got anything on Apple or anything like that, they're the moments where, yeah, I'm so glad I kept my films. And but I
exactly.
always end up going to a handful of films.
Hmm.
Have you got a handful of films that you could
Oh
always
yeah,
watch?
always. Yeah, my Desert Island films. Punch
What?
Drunk Love is number one.
Yeah. Oh my
I
God. Yeah.
It's so underrated. There's no other film that looks like it. It's so quirky and it's just a strong, weird little almost noir. Like
Yeah. That's Paul Thomas
it's so
Anderson,
weird.
isn't it?
Yeah, he's by far my favorite director.
Amazing. He's one of the best, if
Yeah.
not the best. He's
Oh yeah,
so good.
I'm very excited for his next film. I think it's supposed to come out this year, so we'll see.
Yeah. I used to make the mistake of labeling him Paul W.S. Anderson. And he makes some very different films, and not
Definitely.
I really enjoyed Event Horizon, but the rest of his films are not so great.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson is a big influence and
Oh yeah.
super super talented. I think I've got a similar a passion for what's the Australian director called? He did Jesse James film with Brad Pitt. Oh God,
Oh,
Andrew Dominic. You know,
yes,
there's certain directors like, yeah, I'll always go and see your film. I love what you
definitely.
do. You always kind of play to kind of what I want to see, and
Yeah,
those two for me. And like, is it The Master? I don't think I've seen The
The
Master.
Master. Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. I need to see it.
It's a little bit of a slow burner, but it's beautiful. The film is shot so well, and it's dark. It's good.
Yeah.
Not
So,
my favorite of his, but I'd place it somewhere in the middle of his for me.
what would you say is your favorite of his?
Uh, I mean, everyone's gonna hate me, but Punch Drunk Love. I mean, I know There Will Be Blood is like a masterpiece,
Yeah.
and Inherent Vice when it first came out, I think I saw it like 10 times in theaters. It's just
Yeah.
a fun film, but Punch Drunk Love really sits with me. It's just so
Yeah.
unique. It's just there's no film like it. Honestly, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, there will be blood. I don't know how many times people did the whole milkshake thing and imitated that scene, and I didn't realize straight away that there were twins. I honestly didn't realize that. And Paul Dano is amazing. He's such an amazing actor. Everything.
Oh
I
yeah.
think everything I love him in. But yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh,
great,
he's so good. He,
great movie. Great
when
movie.
I was younger, people used to say I looked like him because I had these glasses and super long hair, and I looked just like him in Girl Next Door. It was
Right,
like one of his
right.
earlier films. Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
But
it's
yeah,
superb.
and
Yeah.
I think Little Miss Sunshine is like when I was younger, I recognized I was like, man, this kid's a good actor. I mean, he's silent through more than half the
Yeah.
film, but yeah, he's phenomenal too.
I think that was the film for me that I first you know, when you think about actors and you think, wow, I love watching him. I'm going to kind of look out for him and stuff. And
Definitely.
I think that was the one. I think that one really, really kind of, Greg Kinnear and everyone that's in that. It's
Yeah.
just, it's such a wonderful movie, and the soundtrack is perfect.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I
it's like,
love Devatka, the band that did most of it. They're great.
yeah. Are you looking forward to being able to go back to the cinema, or is that
Oh yeah.
being a passion?
Definitely. I mean, I used to work at a movie theater. I was a manager at a movie theater for a couple of years, and um, my poster collection was insane. At one point, I had to get rid of all of them. It's
Oh
ridiculous, but
no. You and I are very similar in many ways. Like, I used to be an usher. I was an usher in
oh, yeah,
Chester. I was an usher in Manchester, and the infighting when people tried to get posters and all of that. I kind of lived for it. Like this one here, this is the 50th anniversary poster for The Third Man. And I
okay,
obsessed with Orson Welles, or early Orson Welles
yeah,
stuff, because he's an absolute genius, you know, like camera
yeah,
technique and what he did with Citizen Kane, you know, it's legendary, you know.
yeah.
And a chap that was the projectionist at the cinema I worked at, was only 6 screens, compared to like 20 you can get now.
Yeah, I think ours
He
only had 9 or 10.
Yeah, it was going to work for the BBFC, you know, like is the MMPA in the US,
Uh,
the put the ages on the films.
oh yeah, yeah,
So he was going off to the BBFC in the UK, work for them, and he was like, "Oh, I really wanted that poster," and I ended up. They were trying to tell me to bring it back. I'm like, I'm not bringing it back. You know, you
yeah.
don't know how much I love Orson Welles, and I'm not bringing it back. You know, and then
I
I've
think
got
luckily I was in charge of the posters, so I was like,
there you
I was
go. Yeah.
fair. I was fair, and most of the people who worked for us were younger and like really into Twilight and all these films. And I'm like, I just take them. I don't
Yeah,
care.
have that, have the whole lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, did you have any favorites when you had your collection? Do you have any favorite posters?
um, I'm obsessed with Cloud Atlas. That film is
Yeah.
so underrated, and I was working during the time, so I think I even got a vinyl, like what was it, 10 by 5 foot vinyl rollout. It was just massive,
Yeah.
and the poster itself too. I mean, it's a safe poster. It's like a Star Wars poster. They got faces, and it's nothing like
Yeah.
really phenomenal, but the film itself was just inspiring to me, and I love that poster. And then I think I had one for the Master, and I dug up one for Shutter Island. I
Oh
love
wow.
the
Yeah.
like that one as well.
Is that with the match? I think it's the match under his
Yeah,
face,
like
isn't it?
it
Yeah.
has partially has the island, and then his face is like mat with the match lit and silhouetted
Yeah.
on the side. It's yeah.
When Cloud Atlas was made, was it the Wachowski brothers at the time?
Um,
Was it Lana or
that's a
was it
good
both of them? I
question. I
can't quite
know
remember.
I'm almost positive Lana had come out as trans, but I'm not sure if they both were. I think they
Yeah.
were the Wachowski siblings at the time.
Yeah, I love what Lana did with Sense8 on Netflix.
Yes.
I was so gutted. You know when they killed the show off, and then
Mhm.
this was it a holiday special, and then was it a final season or a 2 hour movie? I've
I
not
think they
seen the
just did a
2 hour movie
movie.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a while to go to it,
Yeah,
but that film, there's so much emotion in every scene, and it's a roller coaster. Or that show, I mean, it's just a
yeah.
roller coaster. Like the
I would
the
arguably
serious
say
scenes.
it's got the best sex scene I've ever seen in that toilet stall when you've got
Oh
8
yeah.
people, but it's like understanding how if people listening to this or seeing this go and listen to the stop, pause this, come back to it, watch Sense8 and come back because it's
Yeah.
so I think it's brilliant. And it was one of those shows on Netflix that I thought, right, this is genius. I used to tweet, this is the reason I pay for Netflix on certain shows like
100%.
Stranger Things. Sense8 was like, was it Daryl Hannah's the angel?
She
I
was
think it is.
one of them. Or yeah, yeah. She was the one that was coming
Yeah.
back, or like
And you got
brought
Naveen. Is it
them to.
Naveen Andrews? Is Naveen Andrews? I think from
I'm not
Lost.
sure.
He played Saeed
Okay.
in Lost.
Yes, yes. He's in that.
But yeah, that show and that scene in particular, the way it was shot, I thought it was
Hmm.
genius. I thought
Oh yeah,
this is some of Lana's best work. I think she
definitely.
directed the whole show.
There's some
Um,
episodes I think they brought in a couple people. I don't think she
yeah,
did all of them,
yeah,
but I think they tried to keep it pretty grounded into the same
yeah,
style. I mean, honestly though, that show is like 1 minute you're crying, 1 minute it's sex,
yeah,
1 minute it's action. It's
yeah,
like all over the place, but it's
yeah.
not doesn't pull away from any moment. You know, it's really
I
really
haven't
good.
seen the 2 hour movie that finishes
It's
the
a little
show.
rushed. I mean,
Is
as you'd
it?
expect,
Oh,
it's a little
okay.
rushed just because they're wrapping up probably a lot more than they
Yeah,
anticipated. So, but
yeah.
I don't.
It's a
It's
work of
worth it
art.
if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of? Did you have a favorite character in that, or kind of relationship?
Um, well, I mean, I am gay, so I think I related mostly to I can't remember the character's name now, but from Mexico, he's an actor and trying to like stay in the closet,
Oh
and
my god, that was so good. Yeah,
yeah, his whole little love triangle with the actress and his boyfriend and how they all became friends, I think was like
yeah.
probably, at least for me, really, I found it relatable and was really enjoyed that. But
It was quite
and then I also
refreshing.
liked.
It was quite refreshing, wasn't it? You know, the friendship they had and the strength they had
Mhm.
together. I thought that was brilliant. Really well done. Yeah.
And then the Korean aspect, I can't remember her name, uh, the actress who was like born rich, and she's like the MMA badass or
Yeah. Oh
the fighting
yeah.
badass. So
Yeah.
I think those two stories were like the most prominent for me. But
Yeah.
overall, I mean, they're all
And
good story
what's
arcs.
the one that connected with me? My Vicky that I'm getting married to in a week and a half.
Mhm.
She's Indian, like an Indian, basically born in Wales, but kind of Indian family, and
Mhm.
the relationship between the German, I can't remember, it was like a
Wolfgang,
drug
I think his name's
Wolfgang,
Wolfgang.
and
Yeah.
The Indian girl. That was
Mhm.
like I watching it? Yeah, I was watching that, but we were just started our relationship, and it was like so many kind of similarities, and it was so odd because I had no beard at the time. I had the short blonde hair. I didn't look like him, but it was like I connected with it, and it was emotionally. I just felt it was just so refreshing to see something like that, and it's like in cinema, in short films, or anything like that. When you see an original idea like The Thread or Sense8 on Netflix or a big show, or big movie, or whatever it is, it's really, really difficult to see something new or refreshing.
Oh, definitely. Originality, especially in Hollywood, is like out the door. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's, I mean,
absolutely.
honestly, there's a couple distribution companies that look out for like Neon and A24 or A24.
Oh yeah,
Those
they're
two
great.
are just I mean, A24 takes all my money and all their hats and everything.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's
absolutely.
a few like that. There are a handful. Like old school Lionsgate was amazing, but they've also turned into more franchise stuff. And
Yeah, I
it's just
completely
kind of,
agree with that. They've gone big time. They've gone with big scale with Godzilla and all sorts now. And yeah,
yeah.
like Mandalay Films, there's those production houses that were like, right, we're gonna create something great now.
Hmm.
It's kind of disappeared a little bit, but like I really enjoy Bloomhouse and the horror that Jason
Definitely.
Bloom produces, because giving directors that have not necessarily done well, but giving them an extra chance, or look what happened with Jordan Peele, and giving someone
Yeah.
that's talented a real chance of directing. It's just so appealing. And when you watch The Invisible Man, and you thought, oh right, he's making producing a universal horror film.
Hmm.
That is a brilliant adaptation of that idea.
What's the? I think that the Candyman's coming out this year. That one's gonna
Yeah.
be good.
And apparently Tony Todd is in that, which is
Oh,
really
really?
fascinating. So I'm
Hmm.
like, is he playing some variation of the Candyman? So
Or just a cameo or something.
yeah. I watched that recently, Candyman the original, and
Hmm.
wow, what a movie. What in terms of, like the differences between this writer and going into a world she knows nothing about, the kind of
Oh yeah.
projects where she's going to, like investigating this thing, and she's very blasé about it, and yeah, and then she gets fully enveloped in it. Oh, it's a wonderful movie, it really is.
Yeah. It's been a few years since I watched it, but I just remember it
The
definitely stuck with
the
me.
the HD or 4K presentation it's like a marvel. It's like when you watch Criterion, and you
Hmm.
really kind of marvel at what they do, and you appreciate what they're striving to do. When you watch Candyman, the kind of new scan of it, it's a brilliant print. It really, really is.
I'll have to
Um,
check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Jeremy, thank you so much for being on the Filmmakers podcast, my friend. And
Oh yeah.
I think people are going to absolutely love your short. It's such a efficient film in many ways. Your shot choices are really great, and I kind of like you show things, but you kind of hide things as well. And how just before we kind of wrap up, how much was that was deliberate in terms of not showing too much of the, I'm not going to say makeup, but not showing too much, because obviously that movement, was that something that was always planned?
Um, so I think originally I wanted to show more as it was happening. And then as I tested the effects and the practical stuff, it just kind of was out of my realm. I'm not a special effects artist, so the more I practiced it, the more I was getting frustrated. So I kind of figured I'd kind of keep it more simple and a little more closed up, and yeah, like you said, hiding more than showing.
Yeah, well, and some of the best horror films, it's all about that. It's all
Definitely.
about, hiding in the shadow. Like, look at Michael Myers' mask at the top of it's not top of the stairs, but when I think it's before she's thrown down the stairs or over
Hmm.
the banister, there's a shot of Michael Myers' mask in the doorway. And it's a work of genius, like Dean Cundey, who's a genius cinematographer, brilliant. Like
Hmm.
his career's gone like that, Jurassic Park or whatever it is. Um, yeah, that shot, like minimal. I know that's a budget thing as well, and like
Yeah.
having constraints, like the brief you had in terms of a single location or the different kind of limitations. It's sometimes you find strength in that as well.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. I much prefer that. Like even in just in school when teachers are like, write about whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna think about everything now. Whereas like if you contain me or give me
yeah,
restrictions, I feel I have a little more grasp on what I'm gonna do creatively.
exactly. Yeah. And the last time that happened to me, when um, I was asked to do a piece to camera for a friend's birthday. He's a music producer in Canada, and I spoke to his partner. She writes for like adverts and that kind of thing in terms of music, and she said, "Oh yeah, just send David a piece to camera, 20 seconds, and just use one word to describe him." I thought, oh, okay. And then I wanted to get super creative with it, and then I said to Smudge, I said, uh, you know, what do you want? Do you want a piece to camera? Do you want something else? And she said, oh yeah, just go crazy, do whatever you want. I thought, oh, okay, go crazy. And then myself, Smudge, and her partner David and Jessica Chan, who's part of one of the judges, We do this Slayer Talk, which is a Buffy fan show. So I love lighter horror as well. So we've done the first season. We've just cracked on with the second season. We meet on Zoom and we chat, and we just kind of go on to detail and themes and all sorts. And
is that a podcast you do?
Yeah, it's a podcast. It's part of the Hellbound Horror Festival, which I founded.
Okay.
We had some amazing judges for that as well. But yeah, Smudge said go crazy, and I thought, right, I'm going to say the word Slayer. So he, okay, but how am I going to do this? And then, okay, I'm going to go and shoot in the graveyard. I'm going to shoot it in the day. I'm going to shoot. I've never done day for night. I thought, right, if they can do the really bad day for night in Deliverance, there's a sequence in Deliverance that's really bad day for night. I'm gonna try it. With the tools we have, the tools I've got right here, I was gonna do it. So I ended up shooting this whole thing. I was I was dressed in leather jacket and trousers and shoes, and how I would see myself in Buffy, in the 90s.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was skulking around. I had this anamorphic adapter for my iPhone, so I shot everything on an iPhone because I wanted to be
the Moondogs one.
Yeah, no, it's like a copy of the Moon.
Okay.
It's like a copy of that's just a cheaper one, and that company, that anamorphic kit and what it's given that director that made the I can't remember the feature film. Genius, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And yeah, I shot everything on Filmic Pro, and I was. I kind of plotted everything in my head, and I did everything on scene. And there's a huge graveyard near here, and I shot everything. And my partner, we had our little dog who was kind of tied up to a tree. So yeah, we just went crazy. And having limitations, my only limitation was just do something crazy, and it had to be 20 seconds. And I had this whole sequence, and I had this I was doing my only first Foley in ages, where I was breathing into the mic as I was kind of skulking around this thing. So yeah, it's great having limitations, and it's but yeah, it's fun doing that show and talking about Buffy, and because I love serious horror like Hellraiser, and then I like I like really soft stuff as well and easy to digest, so almost like baby food, I kind of like I like a steak, but then I like something simple as well. But yeah, that's massive tangent, but yeah, thank you, Jeremy, for being on the Filmmakers podcast, and this is going to be a good one for a lot of people. And yeah, it's really nice to talk about your film and go over everything, and especially when you shoot on your own. And a lot of people, when they start out as teenagers or slightly older, they think they need a big group of people. And you've kind of proven with one location, a simple brief that you were given, you can achieve a really interesting short film.
Thank you, and thank you for putting this on. I mean, I've been to a few festivals that honestly make the filmmakers feel like they're lucky to be there, and that what you do here is awesome, and you really promote the filmmakers, and I'm just really excited for the festival and see what happens.
I appreciate that, Jeremy, and that was the core principle that Nadia and I had when we kind of because we produced the podcast and together, and we kind of seek out some of the filmmakers, and that's the number one thing, the core thing, and that's the reason we wouldn't want to charge for submissions or anything like that, and we just want to make it as accessible and as fun as possible, because last year we had a chap that won, who was, I think he was 14, and he did an animation, and he won best animation, and it was about a fly. What would a fly do in isolation? And we wouldn't have seen that unless we were really accessible, and had experimental films from India, and with what's going on over there, because the COVID cases are crazy, and what's happening. I've just read about the Ganges, and there's bodies that are coming up from the water because people it's so horrible now. So yeah, without being super accessible in terms of allowing experimental films and being super available worldwide, initially someone told me I hadn't ticked the right box, and I just put UK submissions only. I'm like, oh no, I'm super limited now. But yeah, it's we've had so whereabouts are you in the US?
I'm based in California. Right now up in Sacramento area, to Lake Tahoe, kind of around there.
So yeah, we've had a really nice crop of films from the US as well, and just the diversity we've had, and it's like it's all organic as well, and that's kind of, I know there's some standardized things I've been putting on Instagram, like the little releases and all of that, but it's a lot of fun, and yeah, we want to make it as acceptable and as accessible as possible. And yeah, we're showcasing all the officially selected films on the 26th of June, and then on the Sunday we have a little awards thing, and we have our judges videos. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. And yeah, I can't wait. Based on my reaction of watching your short, I can't wait. I just picture what people are thinking. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting putting all the officially selected films together, and how I balance that out. It's going to be really difficult, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I'm always excited for that in festivals, just seeing how they play out the back-to-back films. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just laughing to myself because there's some serious films and then there's some ridiculous as well. So it's that's going to be fun. But yeah, thanks again, Jeremy, and yeah, we'll keep in touch, and then we'll let you know in terms of any kind of updates or what's happening with the film and how we use it. And we don't kind of abuse the use of people's films because it's obviously your property, and it's the same goes with every other filmmaker. So that's one of the reasons we didn't just go, yeah, we're going to put all the films up online, because it's, we've got some short films that can't be shown on their own because of not geofencing, but there's some like logistical issues and with where they're being shown, and we had that last year. But yeah, it's gonna be fun, and yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for this whole talk. It was great.
Yeah, and thanks for your patience whilst I was mowing the lawn. I threw my shirt on the floor. It's behind me somewhere, and I just threw. This is a shirt from Stranger Things that Hopper wears on
a date. Yeah.
And I've got the light colored jeans, and I've got the white trainers and the Casio watch as well. Because I'm obsessed with the 80s, but that's for another time. But yeah, cheers again, Jeremy, and this will be out possibly a week after next. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to schedule it yet, because I've got a few in the bank, so to speak, and we're doing a limited 15, so we're really happy that we managed to work this out. And yeah, keep an eye out for a few of the other podcasters, because there's a whole range of films and people, and it's been a lot of fun. Definitely. And speaking to yourself,
I think I've watched them all so far.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. And we've got watch out for Manny Bras that's coming out on Friday. He did a Bollywood short film last year. He's based in Toronto, but he went full Robin Williams 1 hour photo with his film this year. And he's such a nice guy, and yeah, you'll dig that interview. And but yeah, so keep out for an eye out for his film called Minutes with Mika. So his film's really interesting. So yeah, it's gonna be fun putting everything together. But yeah, have a good day, and enjoy the rest of it, because it's kind of only really just started for you. It's
it's almost noon, I think.
I've got to put everything away now, and sort my lights out and that. So have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon.
It was nice talking with you, Alex.
Same to you, Jeremy. Have a good one. See you now. Bye-bye.